Good day, podcast community. PeteKane here, Podcast Pete and lifestyle coach. And we got a special guest in the house. And she's patient because I was late. So, Rebecca, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve. And then we'll get into the podcast.
Okay, my name is Rebecca. I'm a coach and a transformational coach. And I help individuals, especially women, who've been staying away from their own self because of their fear and the patterns and the behaviors that they somehow grew with, and they find themselves stuck in their life, and they are overwhelmed and become stressed. And those are the most people that I help, women. And I base my coaching on faith-based. It's a faith-based coaching. Yes.
Ooh, I love that.
Yes. So that they can be aligned and have the confidence to be who they were destined to be by God.
Yes. Oh, I love when you share that, because I often see like patterns in life. Because being dyslexic and ADD, my brain thinks a little differently. And we spend in America 4 hours watching TV a day, 2.5 hours of scrolling like TikTok videos. So we're consuming other people's lives. We're born to create. How does Rebecca lean into creating? What do you do to keep creating and stay away from that consumption temptation?
Okay, the one thing is so that I don't get consumed with those temptation, and I call them the wowed, is I find what aligns with me. So if I think about something, I go to the TV and watch something that aligned and that is making a difference in my life, to be able also to transfer that to the women that I coach. Let's say, for example, spiritually, I feel I'm down. The first thing I'll think about that will come in my mind, either I listen to a podcast that is giving me information about how to stay strong spiritually, or I turn on to a TV program that I know that I'm going to benefit at that particular time, so that it can help me to grow from where, or to divert from what I'm struggling with at that particular time. So that's how I stay away. The TikTok, the same, everything that I watch on social media, I choose and I decide what to watch for my alignment.
That is so good. Do you often work with clients that have spent too much time consuming media, and you have to transform them into a creative mind? What do you do to help them do that?
One thing I do first, I do assessment. How much time, like we say, you spend on your TikTok or whatever you are watching. Second of all, I ask them, what do you gain from that? What are you gaining from that? And what are you planning to gain from myself? Because you have to choose between two. Is it worthy spending 4 hours on TikTok or TV, or is it worthy spending 30 to 45 minutes having a good conversation or a healthy conversation with me, or even journaling? What is in your mind? What are your plans? Where do you want to be in the next, by Friday? Just, sometimes I see people, they struggle, they think about long term is good, but short term, right now, do I need to, I ask the client, when you are struggling in your mind or you are struggling with something, the first thing you need to, is it going to help you if you put on that TikTok that has all this negativity? And you still having negativity in you. So it's two things that are not helping you. So we have to go through the process of what are the benefits from their side and what I'm offering.
Ooh, that's so good. What was the decision that you came up with to pursue a career in doing the transformation and working with women? What kind of motivated you to move in that direction?
The one thing that motivated me is one thing, anything to do with women, I always love to do that. But the turning point came, let me say, COVID when it came in.
Mm-hmm.
COVID, that was the lockdown because there was nobody to talk to, there was nothing to do. Then I started looking at my life back and I realized that I've been repeating the same pattern of
Mm.
doing stuff. And now I'm here, I can't move, I can't go anywhere, I can't go chat with people or do anything. And I see these are things that I've been repeating over the years, bringing up kids, being married, at work. And that's why I could not find something different that I can do. And I found myself so overwhelmed. I found myself so stressed out. And then I was like, okay, Rebecca without my family, what can I do by myself?
Mm-hmm.
Because now I'm here with my family, but there's nothing touchable. It's just stress that is about to blow up and
Mm-hmm.
then become a trauma in long run. So I woke up and I started researching what can I do. And I remember I was sitting and I was watching one of the coaches on Facebook and I listened to her. And then I was like, I think this is what I need. I need to be able to hear what is going on inside. Though people look at me like I'm well kept, I'm all together, but inside, I'm shrinking. I'm going down. I'm about to break. And I joined one of the classes with one of the lady. My first coach was Jean Odell, she's a very intelligent lady. And
Mm-hmm.
she walked me through my spirit, my mind, my body. And now I started seeing the sense of just having me being myself, going back to my own power. I had power inside, but I was powerless outside. But I thought I was powerful as an individual. But I was at that particular time when I went through that process with her, I identified that I've been recycling my life all through. And
Mm.
I have been overwhelmed. I've been worn out. I have been burned out internally. And that's how I was like, when I did like 2, 3 coaches, because I had to do another one with another lady by Jacinta Mutonga. And my life changed. Even my family, they could see the difference. And
Mm.
then I wondered how many women would be going through the same and they don't have anybody to help, to hold their hand. And I started, when I was done, one of the coaches advised me, Rebecca, I would be a good fit, which I knew because I was always helping people, which
Mm.
was overgiving because I was left with nothing. I was a people pleaser, which I didn't know. So I went back to what I was doing, helping women, not now overgiving, but helping them when I know my cup is full. I'm not empty like before, because before I was drained, but I was not aware. And that's how I started. And then when I got into coaching some women, I realized there are so many believers and Christian, because I'm a Christian, there are so many believers that they are stuck in their life,
Mm.
internally, spiritually, mentally.
Yes.
And they've been, you know, and even into the religion. And that's where I had a wake up call. I say, everybody else is talking about women, and I'm talking about women, I'm teaching women, but there's another group of women that is struggling that resembled the Rebecca back then. And that's how I decided I'm going to take that route of coaching the women, especially the believers.
Mm.
Yes.
I love that. I'm a believer too, a Christian, and I read my Bible every day.
Mm-hmm.
And but I sometimes see this is people will say, I'll say, well, like, how do you improve your skills beyond the Bible? And they'll say, well, that's all I do. I read the Bible. How does Rebecca build on the Bible? What do you like to do that helps you grow?
The one thing is that I didn't tell you. After the coaching women for some times, like for 1 year, I decided I have to go to school, back to school, to understand fully the psychology and how it's connected with Christianity, and see where we are missing the gap, or we are just, coming up. Sometimes people think people are coming up with things, especially the believers. So I had to go back to school to grow myself and understand the psychology of it, whether there is any connection. And that's where I found out there is the world view and the biblical view. So whenever I come to study, I look at things in a practical way. I read the Bible and I look at it practically in the life we are living in this world. And how do I apply it to make sense to my client?
Mm-hmm.
Because we tend to think that the biblical way it doesn't come together with the worldview, and that's why sometimes we lose the sense that those two things, they can cohabit, or they can coexist. And so for me, I read a lot of books from everybody. About the boundaries. Find any books and read and find out what are they talking about boundaries in the worldview, connecting to the Bible. Is it there? When it comes to money, if we talk about money, is it in the Bible? So I bring all that together, and I understand fully that all these things are interconnected. So I develop myself I read a lot. I listen to podcasts, anything and people who have been doing this for a long time, because also that's experienced people who teach about the word and the psychology and the therapy of the whole thing and the connection, so that I can understand better and I can be able to give the best to my client as I guide them through their life. So I do a lot of resources from everywhere.
Yeah, it's this was said, and because I like how you said about mindset and talking about transformation. Like I've heard, like this was in years past, that what we learned in kindergarten take to life. And this person said, like, what we experience in the first 7 years of our life almost wires us to a certain behavior. Do you, like, when you started leaning into more of that personal development of Rebecca, did you have to overcome anything in your life and those that happened in those first 7 years that kind of stayed with you for a lot of years until you until you addressed it or got to a point where it didn't harm your growth?
Yes, absolutely. I remember when I was 7 years, let's say from 7 years, if I can vividly remember, I was that kind of a girl that was always joyful, that always curious. I really wanted to know what's going on, where, everything. But my parents, it was all about school. So if you get to a certain age, you can you can perform, you can go for cheerleading, because I come from Africa. It's now these days that these things are coming up. They were never there. So it's all about books. So, and I remember very well, I would get upset. I would get pissed off when my mom would stop me from going for the, performance, or, do whatever I wanted to do as a small girl. And when I moved here, because I still had that fire inside me, It never went. I feel it still was there, and it's there now. It's life. And then when I came here, I was like, this country, you can be who you want to be, and you can do what you want to do as long as you are not hurting nobody. And that's when I started, like, trying to overcome. How do I overcome this? Because as long as I'm here, I'm still surrounded by people from our country that there's a certain way we have to do these things. And I can learn from them, but at the same time, I had to choose to be me and do what I love from inside. And that is one thing I really struggled with, by the way. I really, really struggled with. I think it took me almost 10 years here trying to be myself, like completely be the Rebecca, not the fake one, and the masking one, but be Rebecca, the funny one, the one who enjoy life freely from inside out, not just enjoying others just to make them happy, or to, just to stop fitting in. Let me just say it, just to stop fitting in, because I fitted for a long time. But when I came here and I stayed for that long time, and I watched and I saw how things are done here, I made a decision, and I said, you know what? There's a saying, they say, when you go to Rome, do as Romans do.
Heard it?
You've heard it. So,
Yeah.
and I started living by that. It was not easy, like I told you, but I had to overcome that. And it has not gone completely, but I've worked on it, and now I'm able to be the Rebecca, the 7-year-old girl. Right now, I don't fit in, and if I fit in, my instinct will rise up and say, Rebecca, that's not you. Yes, that is one thing. The fitting in was one of my biggest problems. It still be, but not like before. Yes.
You said people pleasing and boundaries. I never knew what boundaries meant, and I realized at times I was a people pleaser. I didn't realize how much I was. How did you overcome being a people pleaser, and how important were boundaries in that process?
One thing is how I did overcome my people pleasing. I have to get sometimes being by myself and feel, and just listen and find out how does it feel being by yourself without rushing to anything that people ask you to do, without listening or thinking. It was not a very easy time being by myself, but through that, I had to count, what am I gaining when I stop being people pleasing? Is it worthy? One thing, I had enough time with my family, which I never did. I started having enough time to do things that I want to do by myself. And I could realize my mind started being free. I would think light, and I would think about things that I've never thought of, because I have enough time for myself, not just as a person, even mentally. My mind started clearing out. So I had to find that time by myself and say, what does Rebecca want herself? And I had to ask myself, am I willing to pay the price? Because there's a price that comes with stopping being a people pleaser. I lost friends. Those are some of the things. You lose people because they are not understanding what you are doing, and they don't have to understand because they don't know your journey. But that's how I overcame. I had to isolate myself, not completely, but disengage in, especially in things that don't matter, things that they don't add value on me, things that are time consuming for nothing. And just focus on myself and the important things. That's how I overcome it. What was the other question?
That was the boundaries, but I want to
The
ask you
boundaries.
a question.
That's how I started even the boundaries, because when I that's where now my boundaries came in. And I call them, sometimes I add something, I call it strategic boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I find people creating enmity through boundaries. And to me, those are not healthy boundaries. So I changed it and I started saying strategic boundaries. You are still my friend, but I'm not available the way I was. I used to be available. So I'm strategic in doing that. So I don't create enemy, I create boundaries. That's something else. So that I never know. I don't know whether I might need you one time. So I am strategic, and I also don't create enmity, I create boundaries.
That's so good. There was a person, I don't remember his name, but he was talking about the power of silence.
Hmm.
We're in a very noisy world. And if we get caught up in the distractions of noise, we don't honor our ability to think, to meditate, pray, slow down. And I noticed this because I was always being dyslexic and ADD
Hmm.
at a certain like pace that I worked at. And I worked like hard, fast, but I had 49 days. I had a stroke 4 years ago.
Hmm.
When I
Sorry.
had 49, it was the best thing that could ever happen, actually. So, because I had 49 days in 10 in a hospital and 10 and 39 in a rehab to think, to ponder, to
Hmm.
process. And I never had that much time in my life.
Yes.
Now I meditate, I journal, I spend so much time, in silence.
Hmm.
And it's almost like, I mean, I don't live a life of a monk, but I do in a sense that I have more time in silence than I ever had. How do you handle the busyness of life and a lot of noise and distractions? Is your silence something you do intentionally? And how do you do it?
Oh yes. Oh yes. I forgot. Yes. For me, being silent, it's intentional. And how do I do this? One thing that I didn't tell you, I also work with kidney patients.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a bit about stroke. So anytime I'm at work, if unless something is important, I find myself taking that moment to reflect even what is going on with the patient. And especially my break time, I go to somewhere by myself.
Hmm.
And I ask myself, what, Rebecca, did you learn anything? So I'm not just taking care of them, I'm also learning from them.
Mm-hmm.
So my silence has really helped me in so many ways. And even if somebody calls me and if it's not important, I don't pick it up. How do I know it is important? Before I did not know. I thought pick up every phone. How do I know it's important? I have I've I've had conversation with my family. If a phone is urgent, they call the work number so that I don't get distracted.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not urgent, they text me so
Hmm.
that when I get time, I check on it.
Hmm.
So most of the time, I try to silence most of my thing, being by myself, the phone. When I get off from work, the first thing I do, I sit in my car for 10 minutes. I go through my phone. I check what I need to check. I reply and I head home. So
Hmm.
my silence has been very intentional in so many ways, because sometimes we don't think, even when you are at work, that you need silence. You do need silence.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the other day my manager was telling us something and everybody was talking. I knew the answer, but how people they were responding, it was not in my plate to answer. But it was my whatever was being asked is my responsibility. And when my manager was done, he said, Rebecca, why are you not answering? I say, I could not answer because there's so many people answering and my answer is totally different, being that I'm responsible for that. So I had to to be silent because my silent is different, it's intentional. It's not like the other people, they just answering and it's not even in their plate. So silent to me is very intentional in everything, from my house to my place of work to anywhere I am, because I also want to listen more to my spirit and to the people who are around me. So that silence helped me a lot in everything, and and it has made me grow as a person. As a person.
I love it. I love just what you talked and shared. What about if you had to go back to talk to your 20-year-old self, what you've learned in that journey, what would you tell your 20-year-old self that you've learned that you could advise that self?
The one thing I would tell my 20-year-old is, I wish you knew how life would have been easy if you had clarity of who you are, if you had the confidence to be who you are now, and know how much you'd have aligned yourself. And this is how much you have lost. But it is okay to lose, because even now is not late. You can still accomplish all that you would have done in back in 20, the Rebecca in 20s. But even now it is okay, Rebecca, yeah.
That is so good. You know, we're seeing the world speed up with AI, with technology. How does Rebecca use technology without getting so involved in it that it consumes you? What kind of boundaries have you set for yourself to stay moving, but yet not get so wound? Because I'll tell you, I heard one thing I want to share with you, that because of AI and all the advancement, we're now valuing live experiences. Like, I just came from a luncheon, and connecting with people emotionally, having those conversations are more important today than they ever have been. How do you handle technology and connecting to people?
For me, I think because of how I've been, I love connection a lot. And I realized, I thought I would go to technology full blast, Zoom and everything else. But I realized you cannot learn from yourself, your true self. And how did I know that? Last year, I happened to do a women event. And once I did one, we were physical. So, and I find myself talking about connection and how important we have to connect as individuals. And then when I was done, the women say, okay, Rebecca, you need to do another one. And then when I needed to do one, I didn't have time. And then my daughter broke her leg. So I was debating between canceling, and I said, let me do a Zoom. They said, just do a Zoom. But when I do that Zoom, it doesn't come out well. And I also realized that my audience want connection, physical, because that is one thing that we have lost. So for me, I do a lot of lunch with women, one-on-one, I do coffee dates, I do dinner, anything that we can connect or anything that can make people come together and have connection. I'm 100% for that. It took me a long time even to learn to accept texting people, by the way. Because I really believe in the power of being present. Because I also look at social media or whatever is going on. When I see you, sometimes you can't really understand or learn the person that you are connecting with. But when you are one-on-one, you feel more connected to that person. Your spirit and the conversation, they connect you more than anything else. Because at the end of the day, we are social beings. And that's how we were created. Unfortunately, things happen because we are living here on this earth. But I try to utilize any moment that I can create with any person that I love or any person that we are planning to have a conversation. We meet one-on-one. So I try to keep up with that, with the old way of doing things. Yes.
Yeah, there's such connection and feeling with those conversations and those meetings, the dinners, the lunches.
Yes.
That we just feed off of, but social media has disconnected us from a lot of that. And we say social media. There's nothing social about social media. It's just media.
It's a media it's social with media, not with people.
And people get kind of caught up in it and they wonder why then they feel isolated because their world is all online without meaningful relationships.
Yes.
All digital relationships. What would you say? Like, I was never a journaler before my stroke. I probably did one journal. Now I've done 17, and I found such personal freedom from writing and just putting my thoughts on paper. Then I stumbled on a thing where the guy said, we actually rewire our brain when we write. Do you do anything like journaling to help you in your personal growth?
Yes, absolutely true. Yes, I journal a lot. I didn't used to journal, leave alone journaling. I never, writing was not my my thing. But now I journal like every minute. I have even a tiny journal that I carry in my purse.
Yeah.
Even the tiny one, just in case just in case I have a thought and I forget, I write it down.
Yes.
Because like you say, the world is moving too fast. Sometimes you just have to put all those things down, and then at one point you can even sit down and see what you are thinking about. So I do journal. Journaling has become one of my best. I think it has become one of my best new behavior.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I did a course on it. I was so transformed by it. And being dyslexic, spelling was not my thing. I'd write words and I couldn't think of what the word was like. Now I use Alexa and I use Siri. I use a lot of technology to help me with the words. So I'm more flowing.
Yes.
But I got so much better because I journal in the morning. I journal during the day. I'll journal even at night. And after each podcast is what did I learn that Rebecca shared on the podcast that I might be able to apply, based on just because I have such curiosity and I learned so much from that. If I don't get it out of my head, we have like 12 to 60,000 thoughts that go through our head. How do you keep them straight if you don't write them down? Yeah. I mean, I could go on. I want to be respectful of your time, Rebecca. Yeah. So tell our viewers, how can they get a hold of you? And then I have one final question.
For now, you can get me. I'm on Facebook. Rebecca Mureithi, and I have another page, Transform Beyond Fear, and I'm on LinkedIn, Rebecca Mureithi. I think on Instagram, Rebecca Mureithi. So everything is the same, Rebecca Mureithi. And my page is Transform Beyond Fear.
Awesome. Well, we're going to invite you into our community where we want to connect you to more people that you can serve, because I've said for a long time, we don't want to be the best kept secret in our business.
Yes.
We want to shine out there so people can shine in that can benefit from Rebecca and benefit from the transformation that's possible if they have somebody to help them in that journey. Because it's the journey, there's, as you know, it's ups and downs, it's around, there's no straight path. And
no, so it's not linear.
It's not a weakness to ask for help. It's a strength. And so I had a person once said, because this is when I started my coaching, I said, "Hey, would you like to do a strategy session?" He says, "Are you trying to sell me coaching?" I said, "Well, you decide, but I just want to give you a strategy. I don't need, have you looked at my resume? I need coaching." And I just said, "Okay." I mean, but the top people have more than one coach. I have a lady in my Rotary, she has 3 coaches. So like, she believes in herself. She believes investing in herself, and she's growing crazy fast. So what would you say, what would be the one thing you would want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
The one thing I would love them to know that they have what it takes to be who they were destined to be. They don't have to go out there searching for it. It's in them. It's built in them. It was a gift from the day they were created. They just need to make that bold step and just be courageous enough to take the journey of being themselves and be true to be themselves. Be honest.
Yes.
Be honest. Just be honest to yourself.
That is such great advice.
Just be honest. Yes.
Rebecca, thank you so much for taking the time to be with our community and share your journey with them. We really appreciate you. And thanks again for being a guest on the podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting